Video games are great. We all like them. We all want to play them. And, importantly, I'm trying to sit as still as I possibly can so the DVD logo doesn't go around anywhere. More importantly, we all want to be able to keep playing them even after companies have stopped support for the game. Now, one of the Tony Hawk's games is a great example of this. I'll see if I can explain this a bit later on. But who in the chat has heard of videographic games? Video games for short. Vid games to us game heads. That's what we call ourselves as gamer fans. Now, call me old-fashioned, but when you buy a video game, I like to be able to put the game into my game's console and or PC, and the game plays. I know, it's an archaic, insane thought, but I've still got a Sega Master System, one of the original Sega Master Systems, on the top of the IKEA Kallax unit over there. You stick a cartridge in, it plays the game. Oh yeah, classic stuff. I've still got a PlayStation 1. You put a disc in, it plays the game. If you haven't watched the Kadikarus PlayStation 1 cheat video by now, you should go and watch the Kadikarus PlayStation 1 cheat video. It's fantastic. However, imagine that a video game company required you to connect to an online server to play a single-player game. Just imagine. It's insane, I know, but The Sims did it. And then imagine that in the future, that server hosted by that company goes down. Your single-player game is now unplayable. Even if you have the data on the disk. Even if you put the disk into a PC or a games console, you can now no longer play that game. The question is, why? Now, a good example of this is one of the Tony Hawk's games, and you'll have to correct me on the exact one that it was. It was like Tony Hawk's Underground 2, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 or 5 or something like that. It was one of the Tony Hawk's games specifically. The physical disc that was printed for that Tony Hawk's game only actually contained, I believe it was the first level of the game within data on the disc. And what the disc then did was allow you to download the rest of the game from the online server. And this was done because the DVD logo is really distracting. This was done because the company wasn't able to print all of the data onto the discs at the right time. You'll have to work out exactly which Tony Hawk's game it is. But they printed the first level on, and then they gave you the authority to download Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. Thank you. They gave you the ability to download the rest of the data from the server the disk would connect you to. However, a couple of years later, that server went down. That server is no longer maintained. The data is no longer accessible. So if you purchase that CD, you get the first level of the game and then nothing else because you physically can't get it. The data's not there. The game is now effectively killed. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's a good or a bad game. The point is, you no longer have access to it. Even though you purchased the CD, which effectively is just a right to download the data to play the game, $50 for one level, it's dumb. Now, what Ross would like to propose with his Stop Killing Games initiative is, once companies... Ubisoft here, I will bury you in the microtrans... Yeah, they will. They absolutely will. What Ross would like to propose is, once a video game is no longer supported by the company that makes it and is no longer actively generating revenue for the company that owns the rights to it, Ross does not want the rights to it. He doesn't want the copyright to be able to, sell versions of the game. All he would like is for the game to still be accessible to people who want to play it. That's pretty much it. The game becomes freeware, if you will. It's not taking away ownership from the original company. It's not taking away copyright. It's not taking away trademark. It's simply saying, hey guys, we're not actively making money from this video game anymore, and yet we've made it as a piece of art. Therefore, we want you to be able to experience the art, so here's the stuff you need to do that. Now, the problem with that is, are you passing on copyright when you do that? Effectively, a library of video games. That's what it would be. Because you go to a library and you have access to all the books in the world that you need access to. You take the book away, you enjoy it, you give it back. You don't own it. You just have access to it. Imagine if a company was printing books, and when they stopped selling that book, because they could no longer make money off it, they went around and found every copy of the book that exists and takes them back. Because you're not allowed to have them. They're not making money off them anymore. They take them away. That's pretty much what it is. In this example, who is paying to host the server and will allow downloads after making no profit? That is a very good question. And the answer is potentially a video game focused charity. Or you allow people to have access to the software to host that themselves. Effectively an archive.org thing for video games. Stop Killing Games has a UK petition. Did you sign it? I absolutely did. I am 100% behind it. Now here's the problem. This is why it's not super simple. Lawyers get involved, and lawyers say something such as, well, we can't give the source code to the video game away. It might contain industry secrets. We can't give the source code. The DVD logo is killing your attention span. Well, that can go over there then in the top right corner. The lawyers got involved, and you can't just give people access to the source code because they then might kind of decompile it. They might use ways to take information from it. There's going to be industry secrets within there. So how do we do that? How do we give access to video games without getting on the wrong side of the law? And that's what it is. Here's an example of a game that I specifically bought because of this. I believe it's Warcraft 3. Now, I have no real love. I have no real love for Blizzard one way or the other. But I quite enjoy the video game Warcraft 3. I paid £2 from the English second-hand shop CEX. Does anyone remember the Warcraft 3 debacle when they changed it to Warcraft 3 kind of reforged or remastered or whatever they ended up calling it? I think it was reforged, wasn't it? If you had Warcraft, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, if you had Warcraft 3 installed on your PC, even if you had it installed from a CD, because you were connected to Battle.net, they force updated your version of Warcraft 3 to Reforged. Was that correct? They effectively said, right, we're going to update it from this to this. It has to be like this. What that means is the data on this disk is different to the data that you would get if you purchased Warcraft 3 directly from Blizzard. That is why I bought this disc. I would like to have access to the original version of the game that I remembered playing as a child. This game has good memories to me. I don't want to play their reforged version. I want to have the original graphics, the original sound, all of the original UI elements and UI designs, all the original resolutions. I want this. The important thing about that to me is video games have history and they have memories connected to them for when you played them. So we don't want companies to give us the rights to games. We just want the ability to play the games as we remembered. You have installed it from the CD right now. It doesn't update. You actually need a workaround to update it to Reforge. Okay, gotcha. I like that. That's good. So the Stop Killing Games initiative is effectively saying, hey, if you've put time and effort and energy into making this video game, once you're done with it, maybe don't just throw it away because it no longer has value to you. Because to the gamers and to the people that played it as a kid, it does still have value. Whether it's emotional, whether it's artistic, it has a level of value. Josh, you're watching two moles fight in a hole. You got to do better than that. No, I can't. Where are you watching it? We're all going to watch it. Hun, you've just said you're watching two moles fight in a hole. Are you talking Twitch, or are we coming to your house right now? Where are we going with this? You can't just say something like that and then leave. You can't just tell me the most entertaining thing is happening and then just say, and I've got to compete with that. I don't want to compete with that. I want to join you. Where are we? Where are we going? Field trip to your house. Let's do this. Now, I think what pulled Ross into this was Ross likes a video game called The Crew. And The Crew is like an online car driving game, online car racing game. Imagine Burnout 3, but in like a massively multiplayer, open world kind of thing. You guys, you've probably played The Crew. If you haven't, you should go and watch Ross's Game Dungeon video on The Crew. Well, what then happened was Ross said to a lot of his viewers, hey, if you want to play The Crew with me, just get a copy of The Crew. We can play online. So people did that, and then the servers all shut down. And suddenly people that had paid for a copy of The Crew could no longer access it. And this is because the legal wording of the purchase of The Crew was, you're not paying for a game, you're paying for the temporary right to access the data that makes up the game that can be removed at any time. Which sucks. Completely sucks. You're watching it on Instagram, your brother sent it to me. Well, have him send it to me. So Ross got kind of pissed off that people that had spent money on The Crew could no longer access The Crew. And then he decided to start the Stop Killing Games initiative. The Stop Killing Games initiative is the idea that once a company is done with a video game, they should have a level of responsibility to set it up in a way that is still playable by the players and the consumers in the future. Yeah, it's like that everywhere. You will own nothing and be happy. You are not paying for access to the video game data anymore. You're paying for a temporary access to it that can be rescinded at any time. Ross said that these games need an expiration date. Yeah, that could work. That could absolutely work as well. Having an expiration date works too. Saying, hey, if you buy this, you're going to gain access to it for this long. How would that work with The Crew? Well, if you require a server to set up, I imagine it would work the same way that playing Command & Conquer Red Alert with a friend would be. You can host your own server and simply play a game with them if you want to. It might not be a massively multiplayer server unless some rich benefactor or charity somewhere decides to host a permanent server for it. In the same way that Neverwinter Nights still has permanent ongoing servers, and I can still use LogMe and Hamachi to port forward and play with people that I want to across the, by simulating a LAN connection. There's ways to do it. Hosting a server is something many people already do. Is piracy right? I'll tell you the one time. Games like PT. Remember when PT, the trailer, was kind of created and you could play that PT version and people downloaded it to their PlayStations? And now a PlayStation with the PT trailer on it is worth so much money because you want access to that data. The same thing with Flappy Bird if you want that kind of stuff. PT being taken down was a real shame because most people will not be able to play that now. But I think the playable teaser trailer, the fact that Josh the Mole video is sent to you, you can watch it. Oh, hell yeah. Hang on, guys. No, we'll get back to this. If it's on Instagram, I'm on Instagram. You can message me on Instagram. That's fine. Hang on. I'm checking my phone. I'm not seeing anything. You've lied to me. Oh, hang on. No, it's a message request. Sent a reel. Oh, hell yeah. There we go. Oh, this is brilliant. Oh, it's porn. I got it. This is excellent. This is peak Twitch.
What's he do? Can you relocate them?
That was excellent. So, Josh, what do you do for a job? Well, yesterday I watched two moles shagging with 1,000 people, just chatting. To be honest, it was great. This is why it's difficult to explain what Twitch streaming is. When people are like, so Josh, what do you do on stream? Don't ask questions. You don't want to know that. You don't need that data. That's not important for you. Why do the viewers suddenly increase? See, I know the Twitch meta. The Twitch meta is to sit here talking about two moles having a fight. Or were they having sex? Who knows? Little column A, little column B. Get swole, watch a mole. That's how we do it. Anyway, Stop Killing Games. Ross is probably watching the stream and regretting coming on now. So, the point is, this trend isn't isolated. It reflects a broader shift across most industries in Western economies. It absolutely is. We are moving away from owned things toward access things. We're moving toward games as a service, which I very much dislike. Remember, people were like, oh, in the old days, things were built to last. Yes, they were, because they were built by craftsmen. Now, businessmen looked at that model and went, so if someone buys this, they'll never need to buy another. And the craftsman, proud of what they'd made, said, that is absolutely correct. And the businessman went, well, what if we want to sell them another? And the craftsman went, well, why would they need another? They've bought the best they can possibly get. It will survive. The businessman went, hang on, I've got an idea. How about instead of making the best that you can possibly make, how about you make something that's just about good enough that people won't complain about, then it will break, then we can sell them another. We can plan for the thing to become obsolete. We can even call it planned obsolescence. And the craftsmen all went, that's a horrible idea. You are hurting the end consumer at the cost of profits. You are designing something to have a specific lifetime that will then break after a given amount of time, normally, conveniently, just after the warranty has ended, and then they will have to come to you and buy something else. And the businessmen all nodded, and then they went to buy another yacht made of cocaine. That's what they did. Did they release the Crew 2? Can't remember. You want to talk about planned obsolescence? You know what? I'll give a shout out to my boy Logitech, seeing as I bought this keyboard 15 years ago and it's still going. In fact, when I was talking to the Overclockers guys about the new PC, they were like, so Josh, we're going to give you this new PC. What kind of keyboard do you want? I'm like, no. No. I don't want any of your newfangled rubbish. I'm going to buy this Logitech keyboard for £10 from Argos. And it is going to last me the rest of my life. That was craftsmanship right there. Not even sponsored, but my God, I would be. You have a Dell monitor you bought in 2008, still rocks. Oh, hell yeah. See, this is the attitude. I like it when you spend money to get something, you understand that you have it for a long time. That's what it's going to be. We've got the same keyboard. Keyboards are cracking. That's great. You buy it to last. That's what we need more things like. So the Stop Killing Games initiative is basically about when companies say, all right, I'm done with this. We don't want them to take their... It's the company equivalent of giving a football out to a load of football teams or clubs or kids having a kick around in the park, and the company's saying, you know what? You've paid for the football. You enjoy it. You have a good time. And then when the kids are having a kick around, the company walk up and go, hey lads, sorry, we've stopped selling footballs now, and we can't make any more money off the ball that we've given you, so we're taking this back. And the kids go, well, can't you just leave it so only we can use it? Can't you just leave it so we can have some good memories having a kick around in the park with our mates? And the companies go, no. And then they kick the kids just for the fun of it. That's not even related to profit. That's just what they do. So, yeah. Sorry, kids, you must rent the football. Oh, my God, you must rent this. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Guys, buy physical media. Have a DVD player. Have DVDs, have CDs, hell, have floppy disks, have VHS. Buy books that you want to read again and again and again. There is a value to physical media that you have access to at any time. And if you've got CDs and you want to dump the data from them onto archive.org so other people could play them, absolutely do that. I watched a YouTube video a few days ago of a guy that went back and played a load of random free old game CDs that he himself had dumped to archive.org many years ago. Remember, copy that floppy. Always do that. Is anyone in the chat, of course you are, you're all watching me, is anyone in the chat old enough to remember floppy disks? If you are not old enough to remember floppy disks, do you want to know the most amazing copyright protection that we had invented? All right, this is going to blow your mind. You want to know how floppy disks dealt with copyright protection to make sure that you could never copy the data on a disk? All right? On the back of it, there was a little switch. And if you pushed it kind of in, you could then copy the data. I think companies were just kind of hoping no one would figure that out. That's what it was. That's what it was. They produced them and they go, these floppies are uncopyable unless somebody pushes the little switch. And then somebody else went, can't we just remove the switch or use a hole punch or cut a tiny notch in it that would do the same thing? And they went, you shut your goddamn mouth. You don't give people ideas like that. Stop it. Stop it right now. And then they sent the police after them. That's what would happen. Some people were probably fully, stopped by that little switch. But some of us who had escaped the Matrix were able to push that little switch. Some people in the chat will remember CDRs and CDRW. CD readable, CD rewritable. Because they used to sell CDs that you could not overwrite data onto. And then thumb drives came out, and we all thought they were pretty nifty. And we went on to them. Why does this happen? Why, whenever I am left alone to my own devices, do I always end up talking about mid-90s, early 2000s tech? Why does that happen? Although, to be fair, if I could buy a PC monitor made of slightly see-through pink plastic, I would. Humanity peaked when we designed slightly see-through plastic stuff. That is why I still use a slightly see-through plastic Xbox 360 controller when I'm playing any games. This was the peak of humanity right here. Good times. We didn't know how good we had it. Because you're old, that's true. That is very true. We did not know how good we had it when we all had slightly see-through plastic technology. And if you weren't there for the slightly see-through plastic technology age, you can't understand. You'll never know. You don't know what it was like back then. It was incredible. The wild west of computer making. Y2K could have been the end of the world. People are like, oh, 2012 was bad. You know nothing. Y2K, we thought everything was going to crash down immediately. To be fair, some people, when they went, oh, Y2K came and nothing happened. Yeah, that was partly because everyone spent ages preparing for it happening. To be fair, we did. 2012 was... There is a theory that the world did end in 2012 and everything from then has just been a simulation. Because it does very much feel like some kind of very, very ADHD child playing The Sims, quick saving, quick loading, and just occasionally throwing disasters at the world they have built. And looking around, you can kind of go, I can see what he's on about. I can understand. Because if there is a child playing some kind of digital management game with Earth, some days they log in with the attitude of, I'm going to build the best city I can possibly build. I'm going to make sure this is fantastic. I'm going to city plan this. This is going to be city skylines levels of planning. Other days, they log in and use Sims cheats to just remove all of the digital ladders from everywhere. Other days, they log in and they're playing Command & Conquer. That's the kind of thing. That's what's happening. 2012 was when the server went down and the mods left. Yeah, the mods left to a different version. There was an update. Maybe we're just like an older backup version of the file, just slowly running out. Some days you want to pour lava on the villagers. I'll tell you what I've learned about myself through playing city management and Command & Conquer style games, Age of Empires and stuff like that. I am 100% in support of democracy until I'm in charge. Then it's a dictatorship. I love that. That's how it plays. I sit down and I'm to play my Age of Empires, my Command & Conquer, any of my stuff, and I think, I'm going to listen to all my little people. And then someone from the game goes, Sire, we're running out of wood. And I'm like, back to the mines with you. Get back there. You do what I say. This will work, I promise. Then it doesn't, and I just quick save and quick load of different things. Just name your country democratic something and it's fine. That's how you do it. That's how you get around the rules. No wood for you anymore. Find more resources, peasant. Yeah. I would hate to be a regular guy in a country ran by me. That's what I'm getting at here. That's what I understand. If it was a country ran by me, I would always be constructing additional pylons. All the time. Now let's just link this back to Ross Scott in a way that I'm going to be able to do. There's an old saying, anyone who desires power should be in no way be allowed to have it. We have often found that people who spend their lives trying to put themselves in positions of power over other people are the worst people to be in positions of power. We don't want that. Ross, I was speaking to him briefly yesterday to test the stream. Ross in no way wants to be the champion for StopKillingGames. Like I said to him, did you intend to lead this charge? And he went, I still don't want to. And the fact that he doesn't want to is, ironically, exactly the reason he should be at the front line doing this. That's what it is. When we say, hey Ross, do you want all this power? Nope. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's what we need. Will his conversation with Ross be on the JoshStrifePlays channel? Probably.